way of the old advertising agency client model. We launched the site in beta last year. It's doing well, got some press, blah, blah, blah. That's enough of that. One of my passions, though, is I'm writing a book. And the premise of the book is pretty simple. I think that business leaders are underappreciated in many, many ways. They tend to be boxed in or pigeonholed into the area that they're in, and it's just, well, Jack Welch is a really smart guy because he ran GE. Steve Jobs is a really smart guy because he resurrected Apple. And I think when you read more deeply into what they have done, and specifically what they've said, I think it can be applied in different ways, and that's what I would offer you today. These are people who've met payrolls. These are people who've expanded and contracted workforces. These are people who've dealt with regulators and rivals. They've faced down lenders, et cetera, and there are some famous quotes out there by business leaders where I believe if they're spun in the right direction, they can apply to all of us in how we create better interpersonal relationships. And I'll let you guys be the judge of that. But I think when you look at somebody like Steve Jobs and you say, he said at Stanford in 2005, he said, remembering that I'll be dead soon is one of the biggest tools I use to help me make major decisions. That speaks to me about not only his business, but the perspective that he had in his personal relationships. You look at somebody like Jack Welch who said, change before you have to. Jack Welch meant that in a very narrow business concept at a particular time in GE's existence, but you can expand that to mean much more in the way you deal with your personal relationships. Anita Roddick, who maybe some of the women would know here more than some of the men, she founded a company that grew quite large called The Body Shop, and it was known for its cosmetics, and those cosmetics were the first of their kind that were not, the components weren't tested on animals. And Anita Roddick, at a particular time in her life, she said, anytime you think you're too small to make a difference, try sleeping with a mosquito. Ingvar Kamprad, who I didn't know who the heck he was before I read the quote, but he's the founder of IKEA. The first two initials were his initials, last year in the town and the province in Sweden where he was born. But Ingvar Kamprad said, only those who are asleep make no mistakes. And I think that means something not only for entrepreneurs and business owners, but also for people that are just dealing in personal relationships. So I'm about halfway through writing this book. It's organized into 10 chapters. And what I'm trying to say is that there are business leaders out there who have things to say in 10 specific areas that are qualities that apply to good personal relationships. If you're going to have a really good personal relationship with somebody, my argument would be you're going to have some sense of perspective, you're going to have a high degree of integrity, there's going to be a lot of trust, there's going to be a lot of respect. And when Peggy and I talked about this talk today, she said, do you have anything on commitment? And I said, well, that's one of the chapters. You know, I'm actually writing a chapter on commitment illustrated by some of these quotes. So my memory is not that good to recite some of these, but I offered up 3 quotes there. And these are all very short essays reflecting on those and how that particular quote, that person's life, relates back to personal relationships that we all in the room want to have with each other. And I think that was the whole message of today in one way or another was, you know, whether it was Peter Block saying, hey, you know, you trade sovereignty for safety, whether it was Michael early in the morning talking about the focus and the attention and the action that's required for commitment. I think Peggy had a mindset of curiosity that I wrote down. Certainly Beth, Dennis, Ryan, and Crystal all talked about the process leading to success, and there is some kind of action that needs to be taken along the way. What I say in these 10 characteristics of good personal relationships is they all require action. They all require some intentional activity on all of our parts to say, I want to be more engaged, more involved, more significantly contributory to those people who are around me. So, hey, without any further ado, I hate to read stuff, but you know, I didn't have a fancy PowerPoint. I can't remember all this stuff anyway. The first quote I treated in the chapter on commitment. By the way, there's 12 quotes per chapter, 10 chapters. You know, read one a month, study all, 10 things a month, however you want to do it. The book proposal's out on the street. We got some good reception from it. Hoping to have it published by mid-year next year. And like I said, it's about half done. There's other work to do. Opportunity is missed by most people because it is dressed in overalls and looks like work. Thomas Edison was one of our most prolific inventors and held nearly 1,100 U.S. patents and many more worldwide. Most of his inventions contributed to our modern-day development of advanced telecommunications, but he is also credited with breakthroughs resulting in motion pictures, electronic stock trading, power generation and distribution, and recorded music. Edison is also widely recognized as the first to apply principles of mass production and teamwork to the process of invention. All of this was done in the face of extremely daunting realities. Edison was the last of 7 children born into a family that fled Canada in his infancy due to his father's participation in a civil insurrection. He had 3 months of official schooling and was severely hearing impaired from a very early age. He was widowed with 3 small children after his first wife developed a brain tumor. His first patent was granted when he lived in the basement of a mentor's home after being fired from a job at Western Union. Through all of this, Edison said he never lost his passion for reading and experimenting. It is no wonder that such a quote likely flowed very naturally from his lips. After all, without a deep sense of commitment, he too would have missed many opportunities. Many of us can probably recall some of the more common anecdotes from this great inventor's life, but as with many famous achievers, we are often unaware of the backstory, and that is what often illustrates and illuminates real greatness. What allowed Edison to remain committed to his passion as deafness compromised his abilities to easily communicate with his own family and employees. What kept him going as a grieving widower with small children? What spurred him to continually embrace research and innovation while living an impoverished existence in a benefactor's basement? Above everything, Edison seemed to embody commitment to curiosity, creativity, and to questioning the status quo. Make no mistake, commitment is hard work. Being curious about how to grow your business more effectively isn't something that's accomplished while you multitask on the couch. Formulating a plan and setting up accountability for a teenager struggling in school isn't done between updating your Facebook status and watching your favorite sitcom. Reaching out to a talented but misdirected coworker isn't very beneficial if it's a quick hit on the way to the corporate parking lot. Commitment means quite simply being committed. It means being intentional. It means that you have to get dirty. Like most opportunities, it means things are rarely wrapped up neatly. But the ultimate reward is in the effort and in our devotion to a greater outcome through that effort. How will you demonstrate your Edison today? Shall I go on? Next.
Yeah.
I got 15 minutes. You got to tell me when it's up. The next quote: your present circumstances don't determine where you can go, they merely determine where you start. This guy I never heard of before. Came across this quote. Nido Kubin is the way his name is pronounced. Does not sound like someone's name, but maybe more like a multinational pharma or manufacturing company. While his name isn't a household word, his story is a very familiar one. Born the youngest of 5 children into a poor household in the Middle East, Kubin came to America with $50 in his pocket and attended Mount Olive College in North Carolina for 2 years. He worked at a local YMCA and survived on Swanson frozen dinners because he